This is Helga Gilbert. The lecture today is Ethical Issues in Group and Family Counseling. This lecture will pertain mainly to group counseling issues. However, both group and family counselors would use the same code of ethics from the American Counseling Association as their overarching code that they would follow. Now, the Association for Specialists in Group Work, or the ASGW, is probably the most important professional organization for group leaders. And it's the one referred to in your Capuzzi textbook and really most any group counseling textbook that you're going to look at. It's what we review in this lecture, and you should really read over it. And actually, it's not too terrible to read. It's not that dry. So, the ACA would be the parent organization, and then within the ASGW they have three important documents: the Best Practice Guidelines and Principles for Diversity Competent Group Workers, and the Professional Standards for the Training of Group Workers. Also relevant for you to look at, the ACA code. And I imagine you might have already looked at that in an ethics course in this program. And then for marriage and family therapists, their own code of ethics from the AAMFT. And then there is the National Association of Social Workers Code of Ethics. The Capuzzi text notes that lawsuits against group counselors are very rare, but that greater dangers can exist in a group setting versus an individual counseling setting. The group leader has far less control over the counseling sessions due to the interactions among the members, and likewise there's no control over interactions that may occur after sessions or between sessions among members out of the presence of the counselor. Physical or psychological harm could be inflicted by one group member on another. Confidentiality could be broken by one of the group members. But, again, malpractice or civil suits brought against group leaders are far from common, and by adhering closely to the professional standards of care set forth by the ASGW and the ACA, a counselor can have confidence that he or she has protection against most claims. If, in a situation of suicide or claims of harm resulting from participation in the group are made, the counselor can show that he or she acted as any other professional working in group counseling would have, following the professional codes and guidelines for practice. Then he or she should not be found liable. Now, an individual shouldn't dream of leading a group without obtaining adequate training first. Supervision should be in place for inexperienced counselors. We'll talk briefly about training in the next slide. Pre-group work may be a person's best insurance, not only to avoid the types of legal issues that may arise, but also to create a group that's effective for all participants. We'll talk about the steps involved in pre-group planning soon. Naturally, every counselor must obtain liability insurance. Even rehab counseling students working in a practicum or an internship must carry liability insurance. This is easily obtained through membership in your professional organizations. Codes versus guidelines. What's the difference? The definition for an ethical code is rules professional members must adhere to in their practices. This is from Corey, page 27. Or face being expelled from the professional organization, you face losing your license, or you're charged with malpractice for not upholding a certain standard of care expected of you. Now, ethical guidelines, the definition for ethical guidelines from Corey is that they provide practitioners with suggestions aimed at increasing ethical and professional behavior as a group leader. Please read the ethical guidelines set forth by the ASGW. We have a link to that in your coursework. This is from the ASGW guidelines on training. Each area of specialization has its literature. In addition to basic coursework in group theory and process, each specialization requires additional coursework providing the specialized knowledge necessary for professional application of the specialization. So by the specializations, they mean the 4 overarching types of groups. What would your coursework need to be if you wanted to lead task groups? Or what would your coursework need to be in your area of specialization if you wanted to do group guidance or psychoeducational groups? And again, group counseling or group psychotherapy. So you need to realize that if you're asked to lead a group by your employer, you need to satisfy the training required to be fully above any liability claims. And your employer, also would not be above these claims if it could be shown that they put someone in charge of a group who had not undergone sufficient training, who didn't have enough experience. And then you also have to restrict the scope of your practice only to the client populations that you feel really comfortable working with based on your experience and your training and your education. So let's look at the task group facilitation. You would have coursework in areas like organizational development, consultation, management, or sociology, so that you understand how organizations work and how task groups function within them. Counseling, and then let's look at the group guidance and psychoeducational groups. So coursework in these would be community psychology, consultation, health promotion, marketing, curriculum designed to prepare students to conduct structured consciousness raising and skill training groups in areas like stress management, wellness, anger control, and assertiveness training and problem solving. By the way, I'm taking these directly from the guidelines from the ASGW. Now, Corey adds that, let's see, according to Curry, 30 hours of supervised field work are required for leading or co-leading task groups, but they really recommend 45 hours. And then for the guidance and psychoeducational groups, also 30 hours of supervised field work, but really 60 are recommended. In group counseling, the coursework necessary is normal human development, and family counseling, assessment and problem identification of problems in living, individual counseling, and group counseling, including training experiences in personal growth or counseling groups. Counseling, well, let's look at the psychotherapy coursework requirements. They would be abnormal human development, family pathology and family therapy, assessment and diagnosis of mental and emotional disorders, individual therapy, group therapy, including training experiences in a therapy group. That is where you yourself would take part in a group, right? So both of these types of groups require 45 hours of supervised field practicum and a recommended 60 hours of supervision. In a text by Corey on group counseling, he gives a nice summary of thoughts about those guiding ethical principles that are listed in the code. And I thought we could review some of them here. And again, remember, the point in looking at this and realizing that it needs to be sort of your Bible if you're going to be a group counselor is because you need to make sure that the type of care that you're giving as a counselor meets the professional standards. You are doing what other group counselors would be doing, and you are fully aware of the professional codes and the guidelines for practice. So, the first one Corey talks about is know yourself. Think about how your behavioral styles and your needs might impact the groups you lead. Be clear about what type of group you're designing and relate the purpose and the characteristics to the individuals that you're admitting into the group. Everything needs to be crystal clear. They need to understand what they're getting into. Screen out individuals if they would not make good group members, if harm would come to them or others because you've allowed them to be group members. Tell potential members what the group expectations are. There's going to be some disclosure and sharing. We're going to set goals. We're going to use some techniques and do some exercises to practice new behaviors. You're going to express what you're thinking about and what you're feeling about by being part of the group, and about, you're going to disclose about your life. You're going to have to respond to other people in the group. You're going to have to respect them. We're going to listen to others, and we're going to provide support to others. On the next slide, it's continued. The leader's responsibility is to protect participants from feeling pressured into participating when they don't want to, when they're very uncomfortable with it, when it may cause some psychological harm. Don't allow anybody to be used as a scapegoat within the group, or any other dynamic that might set up that becomes defeating to that one individual. The leader needs to be able to verbalize his or her rationale for using certain group exercises, from ice-breaking techniques to speaking to someone as though the role-playing activities. There are lots of techniques that might get used during the course of the group. The leader should only use exercises and techniques that he or she is competent at using and has experience at using. Emphasize confidentiality during the pre-group stage, during the working stage again, and again at termination. And don't impose your own values, but be open about what your values are when it's appropriate in the group to speak about it. And we continue on to the next slide. Be alert for members who should not continue in the group, and then make appropriate referrals for them. Encourage members to discuss their experience in the group and help them evaluate the extent to which they are meeting their goals. Don't expect transfer of learning from the group into the daily life to occur automatically. Help members apply what they learn. Prepare them for possible and likely negative responses that they're going to encounter in their real life. Do follow-up sessions so you can evaluate the impact of the group experience. And develop a method of evaluating the effectiveness of the procedures you've used at the end of the group. So this is just a short overview, and at this point it's going to be necessary for each student to pick up the principles and guidelines and refresh yourself again also with the ACA Code of Ethics, and look through all of this and see how it applies.